you need to actually create engagement with your fans. You need to create a meaningful connection with your fans. You need to, build a bond that makes them a fan for life. And the other services, they don't do that. We provide with, all these tools to send them messages, comment with them, give them extra special exclusives. They have the ability to control that relationship with the fan, and we draw the shortest line between the artist and the fan.
David Ponte from Audiomack has built something amazing. He's been a part of building a streaming platform that focuses on discovering music. You might think, well, that's a niche product, but over 12 years, they have built more than 30 million monthly listeners, and in some markets, they're number one. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sound Connections podcast. Today, I have David Ponte in the studio. Welcome, David.
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this call. It's not often that you meet successful streaming companies that's existed for a long time. It is an extremely difficult space, but David, you have been a part of building one of those. We're talking about your company today. For the people who don't know who you are, what you do, and what Audiomack is, could you explain who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name's David Ponte. I am the co-founder and chief marketing officer for Audiomack. Audiomack is a music streaming and discovery platform that empowers artists. So we're one of the biggest streaming apps in the world. We're one of the number one streaming app in over 13 countries in the world, music streaming app. And I have one of the best jobs. I get to listen to music all day. I have a great team. I try to get our team excited about helping artists and empowering artists, helping artists reach their goals and celebrate their wins.
Yeah. Amazing. I was, today while I was preparing to the interview, I was just going through your platform, going through your sort of value propositions to customers, and it's quite unique. Like, it's not often that you see this. Could you describe a bit how Audiomack is different from any other ordinary streaming company that people might know the best? Yes.
So there's a few reasons why, that differentiate us competitively from other streaming platforms. I think, depending on where you are in the world, our value proposition might alter a little bit. But I think the one that is blanketed across the entire world is that we're really focused on discovery. So the Spotify, the Apple, the YouTubes, they have a discovery component, but they're really for the masses. They're not really trying to break artists. They want to just keep you on the app listening to music that is going to keep you listening the longest, which is fine. There's certainly a need for that in the market, but, because we're not quite as large as those companies, we don't have as much capital as those companies, we want to try to find a niche. And our niche is to help people discover new artists, new sounds, and new scenes. So that's how we curate music. We have a touch of human curation. It's not just algorithms or recommendation engines. I have curators in dozens of countries, dozens of regions around the world that are at these clubs early in the morning. They're at places where music is breaking. And they're compiling that music, getting those artists to sign up directly to the platform and upload their music so that we could curate it and share that with the rest of the world. So yeah. I guess that would be one factor, is that we're focused on discovery more than the other streaming platforms. Number two is some of the utility that we offer. So I'll combine being able to take songs offline on an ad-supported platform. So you are able to use Audiomack, download Audiomack and use it no matter where you are in the world. And you're able to take songs offline no matter where you are in the world. So this is not every song, that ever has existed is on Audiomack. Not every music label has licenses in every country on Audiomack. But on the countries that we focus on, and probably the countries where this podcast is going to be listened, we will have the ability to provide listeners with the capability of taking songs offline and listening to it and still making sure they're getting paid for these streams. So, and you don't need to subscribe as well. And if you do just decide to subscribe, we have a very competitive option here where you could take unlimited songs offline. You can have higher quality audio. You could download playlists, many different things. And it's a lower price point than a full catalog subscription service. So a lot of people will either use Audiomack as their primary music streaming app. They feel that we have everything that they need, and then they could either get a lower price subscription, or they don't need to subscribe, or possibly because they can't. Either they're too young, they don't have a car, they don't have an account, they don't necessarily have enough money to. We feel that music should be available to everyone, regardless of where you are in the world and regardless of your income level. So we're able to provide a high quality listening experience to these people, as well as people who have multiple streaming apps, right? It wasn't too long ago where you would be like, wow, why would I need Netflix? I have cable, right? Or why would I need Peacock? I have Netflix, right? But ultimately, people decided that they need a lot of streaming services if they can afford it and if it's for them. We feel that music is not exactly the same as this, but it is similar enough to where you might want to have a Spotify and you'd want an Audiomack as well, because again, you want to discover music, you want a different curatorial experience. And what we keep hearing over and over again is that the recommendations of some of the other platforms can get a bit tired, stale, keeps you in the same echo chamber. I listened to this song. How about listen to this song? It's a little bit similar to that, right? And that's fine. We have that too. But there's nothing about your friend telling you, you have to listen to this band or you have to listen to this new song, and having that connection that you get from hearing that based on someone's recommendation, like an actual person's recommendation, right? We're that friend, right? We have these people that are actually listening. We're that human curation service. We're putting that song in front of you because we listen to it and we know it's good. So I feel like that's not something that you could just automate. You can't just put some AI behind that and think you're going to address that need. So we're trying to provide a different experience for a good price point. And that's what makes us different.
It's really interesting. Obviously, you guys are not a startup anymore, but at my company, Amplitude Ventures, we consult a lot of companies, and I hear a lot of startup pitches. And if anyone would come to me right now and say, we want to build a huge streaming services where one of the primary value propositions is discovery, I don't know.
No, I would tell them, don't do it.
Well,
that's
you guys
a terrible idea.
Well, you've been 12 years in the making, and depending on the numbers I've sort of seen, you guys, at least what I've seen stated, is between 15 to 30 million active users a month, listeners you have right now, which is a extremely impressive number for that value proposition. Obviously, you offer more than that, but it must have been a journey, and I'm really interested to hear about that journey, because having such a unique value proposition and also this artist curation and love for music, love for curated music to discover artists is not usual. And I can imagine it must have been an uphill proposition to work with in this environment that is probably more about mass consumption and scale, where of course you've also to a big degree reached that. But let me start from the beginning. David, tell me a tiny bit about how you came into music.
Yeah, so I will say we're as of this podcast, and we're at about 33.5 million monthly active users.
Wow.
And it's the thing about our journey is that we've actually gradually grown every year, right? So many startups, they burn really bright and then they fizzle out quick, right? Very rare do you grow super quick and then keep that path. It's just, the brightest stars burn out the quickest, right? And you see that a lot with startups. We have been foundationally building since 2012. And how we started was not, it's not like we had this vision that says we're going to become the biggest music streaming app in Africa, or we're going to become the biggest music streaming app in the Caribbean. We did not think of that at all, right? That's not what we had in mind. It started when my partner, David Mackley, who he was also the founder of a blog site, music blog called djbooth.net. So this in the U.S. was a pretty popular hip hop blog. DJ Booth actually so my partner Dave claims, the first blog where you could stream music. And he basically put a reel player onto the blog and you could play songs from that. I'm talking like, this was like 2002 or something like that, right? Like the internet just exploded, and then what the remains is like how the DJ Booth started, right? So I didn't know him at the time. I met him at another company. We're just business guys at this software company that was selling services to websites for online advertising, right? So we met here. We became friends. We're both Italian guys. We're both from New York. We're around the same age. We both went to school in Connecticut at different schools, but colleges, I should say, or uni. And you know, I was just a huge music fan, right? Like back when I was at university, I was the guy that would like make all the CDs for our parties, right? So I would burn 3, 4, or 5 CDs, load them up into the CD player for our party, and I would look at everyone, see how they reacted, how they would dance, you know, what did they like this song, should I keep this for the next week's party? And then the CD would stop and everyone would jeer at me and be like, what's going on? What's going on? I thought you were putting our music on. It's, but that's how it worked, right? I had to load CD number 2 on there, and then so on. I would watch everyone. I was always just, obsessed with seeing how people reacted to music. And then I would get a lot of demand for giving, people would say, make me a tape. Can I have this CD? And I would give the CDs out to people, after the party, and people would play in their cars and in their dorms or whatever. So I just always loved that feeling. So fast forward again to when Dave and I were working together, I would go onto his blog, DJ Booth, but then I would go onto other popular blogs at the time. So this is known as the blog era, right? You'd have DJ Booth, Two Dope Boys, On Smash, Nah Right, Up Rocks, very, very many blogs. And it was a great way to discover music at the time. The bloggers were the gatekeepers. Artists would send them songs.
Yeah.
And you would scroll through all these blogs to try and find a song that you could download, right? Because there was no streaming yet. There's post CDs, pre-streaming, the blog era. So then you would take this and you load this up on your phone, and then you listen to the songs that you've basically collected from all these blogs every day. A cumbersome process, right? You'd also go to a DatPiff maybe, download and take songs that you like from there and put them into what was a playlist at the time, right? So he would always be like, why are you going on all my other competitors' sites? And I would be like, well, you don't have everything I want, right? I want to find out everything that came today, and I want to hear it on one thing, and I want to take what I like, and I want to leave what I don't like. So that right there was the impetus for the curation of Audiomack. Simultaneously, Dave, my partner, was saying, well, it's not even that hard. You could just find a place to be able to upload the music, and then, basically we could build out a front end and then just display all the music that was uploaded by the blogs that day or by artists. So then we brought in our other partners. We have 3 other partners who helped with that part. And one of our partners, a chief design officer, he designed websites for NBA.com, big time website designer, and he happened to be Dave's friend. And then our programming, our CTO, is someone who does not like being named on podcasts, but he's a mastermind and can manage huge systems that are doing a ton of traffic and servers and things way beyond my pay grade. And then we had Z, Brian Zizek, who's on the podcast circuit as well. He goes and speaks all the time. He was the editor at DJ Booth, and he knows all the artists, and he knows the industry. He was a radio host and all this. So we sort of formed all of us together and built up this site. And this was around 2010. And then a couple years, and really it was late 2011 where we actually had a product that we could test out. And then we launched in 2012, really as a place for blogs and artists to upload their music. So what was going on is the blogs were, the artists would send their song to MP3 to the blog, and the blog would have to listen to it, and then they would upload it to their site. It was just didn't make any sense, right? So we said, hey, just put your song on Audiomack and send them the embed player, because that's how people were listening, was through embed players. So by making it easier for the blogger, the chance that you're going to get featured is higher, because it's easier for them to do it, and it's easier for them to listen to their hundreds of submissions they are getting every day. So we wanted to simplify this for everyone involved. And then we also were allowed the blogs to customize their embed player so that it looked cool and it would fit their site aesthetically. So we were just filling all these little gaps that existed in the industry. Around this time, SoundCloud also started. And I believe Spotify existed, but not in the US at this time, or it was just starting to get going. So these things were sort of all happening simultaneously. SoundCloud was doing more like electronic and mixes, and it's a European company, so it was like kind of being used in the US, but not really by rap music or hip hop or like Caribbean music. That's not, which is what our specialty was. So we kind of came in through these music channels, but we also came in through tech channels that were helping to solve problems at the time.
But so two things. So I think one of the years you mentioned was 2002. And then you went to, you guys starting something in 2009. There's a big time gap between, like, what happened in your life and why did you sort of reconnect back to these guys? Were you in contact the whole time?
So I did not know Dave at the time. I graduated college in 2004, which is an interesting time, right? I'm what's called an elder millennial, right? Or a zennial. We have a lot of names, right? And basically, we're an interesting part of the millennial generation, and arguably even Gen X. I have an older brother. He's Gen X, but I'm a millennial. It doesn't make sense, right? But basically, this is right when Facebook came out, after I graduated college. And then also, you had the iPhone in 2007. So this was rapid changes in the music industry and in internet history. You also had Napster and like just the music industry just going absolute nuts. People were downloading files, stealing files, if you want to look at it like that, sharing files. So it was just in complete disarray, the music industry. I did not start in the music industry. I'm just a music fan, right? Yeah. I grew up in Long Island, but I moved to New York City around this time and was just obsessed with going to different open mics and clubs and just doing anything related to music, just, whether it be going out dancing or whether you'd be at a hip hop show and watching people rap, or just anything. I would literally consume all types of music, all types of genres, and I still do. But I was basically working a job as like a salesperson where I would have to go door to door and sell people internet service. That's like when people did not have internet, but I would sell them internet, right? I would sell them what was called DSL. And DSL is essentially like fast internet, but not even like slower than a 5G now, like much slower. But businesses didn't have this. They were using dial-up. It was just like a mess. So I would sell them DSL service, and then soon became what was known like T1 service, which was like a business would use like high-speed T1 service, and you would get much faster internet there. So I was just going around selling, and you'd have to go knock on a lot of doors, right? That's what we would call it. Literally would go walk into businesses and say, hey, like, I'm cold calling you now. You don't want to talk to me, but I have to convince you to give me some attention so I could try to sell you this internet. And a lot of times people needed it, and it wasn't that hard of a sale. People realized they needed internet at that time, and it made sense to get faster internet. So I learned a lot about marketing, learned about a lot about sales, learned about how to, align my company's capabilities and our product's capabilities with the needs of that person, which is the format of any sale is you're trying to align what you have with what they need. And if you don't, you need to find out what they need. That's really what selling is how do I help solve the problems? What are the root causes of those problems? And then how am I going to match my service with that? So that's kind of what sales is, from a very high level. And everyone's selling whether they know it or not. You're selling, like when we started out Audiomack, we didn't have licenses with the major labels. We had to go to the major labels and sell them, even though we pay them money, a lot of money, but we had to still sell them on why it made sense for them to do this deal with us, right? Even when I have an artist come here and they're not sold on Audiomack, right? We're a big company, but we're not as big as the big companies. So why would they tell their fans to use Audiomack as compared to one of the, big public companies? Well, here's why. You need to actually create engagement with your fans. You need to create a meaningful connection with your fans. You need to, build a bond that makes them a fan for life, right? And the other services, they don't do that. We provide with, all these tools to send them messages, comment with them, give them extra special exclusives. They have the ability to control that relationship with the fan, and we draw the shortest line between the artist and the fan. Amazing. So all of that stuff, when I have an artist come here and I'm trying to say, hey, like, mess with us, it's all coming back from the sales experience I had, decades ago that I learned, at my first couple of jobs.
Yeah, and there's a very clear parallel to the entrepreneurship journey. I love how you described sort of the way that you operate as a successful established platform is very parallel to what most startups are trying in the super fan economy chase right now. Fan interaction and enabling that relationship. We'll get back to that because it's quite an interesting commentary that companies so established with you already have addressed that. Let's wait a bit with that because I need to understand the journey a bit more. So you come from this door salesman job and you start Audiomack. What conversation happened? Did you just recalibrate with your co-founders? You didn't know them yet? Like, tell me the story. How did it actually happen?
So Dave and I are both big music fans. So like when I said, when I go to these clubs or we go to open mics or something like that in New York City, Dave and I would go as fans. Like we wanted to do this. We recognize like the objective wasn't really to make a big global music platform. It was really to make a couple extra bucks. Like I wish I had a more noble reason, but like if any entrepreneur is telling you, it actually became more noble as time went on. But it was like, man, it would be great to earn just like an extra $5,000 a month, right? Like, we just wanted more, we wanted to make money. And Dave really recognized this. He goes, all these other, these artists need a way to show their music more professionally, right? Like he knew as, again, the owner of DJ Booth, artists would pitch him all the time and they didn't know what they were doing, right? They want to get featured in djbooth.net, the blog, because it would help them get more fans and it would help them raise their profile. It was like, to be on that blog was like a notch on their belt. The artists and or the managers of these artists and even label people, like major label people would reach out to DJ booths. Oh, feature my artist. Here's the MP3, like, and you'd have to download the MP3 and listen to it. They didn't have you didn't know anything about the artist. There's no liner, there was no media kit for the, generally speaking. It was just a problem. Like it was an obstacle for the blogs to be able to provide their audience with the best music that came out that day or that week. And if you think about the blogs, they're sort of like digital magazines. Like that's what actually Dave branded DJ Booth as, was like an online magazine, like a Source or Vibe or Rolling Stone, whatever. And so the art, it was just it was really unprofessional, but I don't blame them for it. There just wasn't the tools available. So we wanted Audiomack to be a way that an artist can make their profile, put social media handles in it, which was brand new at the time. Like Twitter just started, and Facebook. We had Twitter and Facebook, and YouTube. That's what you could add. And you could put nice pictures up there and have all your songs, and you could decide what songs were going to be the first songs that people would listen to. So you just send a link to someone at a blog or at or an actual magazine editor, and we knew that artists needed this. This was a problem, and that's what an entrepreneur needs to do, is to identify what the problem is and how they're going to solve it. Again, and that's a sale that I mentioned earlier, right? What are the problems that you're going to solve? What are the needs that are there? And then how can you solve these problems and address these needs? So that's how we came up with it. We just needed our CTO basically say, hey, like, we have this idea. We have this other website. I also had another website at the time. I'm a big sports fan, and I wrote hundreds and hundreds of blogs about different teams that I like. I'm a Mets fan and a Jets fan and a Knicks fan and a Chelsea FC fan, right? So, which everyone knows I'm a Chelsea fan when they see me. I don't know why, but that's what happens, right? But even though I'm not from there, but I would write all these blogs. So I got better at writing, right? I got better at making my point, how to make my point. So we were able to basically convince our now CTO to basically put dozens and dozens of hours in to create the actual back end of Audiomack, where people could upload their song, where people could stream their song, it could host the files, all that stuff. And then we convince our chief design officer to say, hey, like, this is how we want to present this. We want people to be able to stream songs, download the songs. You want to be able to upload the song as well. And it has to be easy to do, that even an artist can figure it out, right?
I mean,
like someone who's not technically savvy, like a singer, typically are not, or even a manager of an artist. And especially just young people, right? These are 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old people. So it has to be easy to use too. So our CTO and our CDO put in dozens and dozens and dozens of hours to create this, basically with the hope that me and Dave and Z would be able to like get people to adopt this and use it.
And what was their incentive? Like, did they just also jump in the back when they wanted to make $5K extra a month? Like, what was the conversation you had when you tried to incentivize them to put so many hours in?
I think yes, they wanted money. They wanted to. This was the first business I ever started, and I went and I put in, to register the LLC, right? And I put up the money to do that. It's probably one of the greatest, and I ended up getting more equity in exchange because I put my hard money up. Yeah, they put time up, but they didn't take money out of their bank account and register the business and do all that stuff. So I was like, I'll do that. I just want whatever amount more. And that was probably a good investment at this point. So, I put my cold hard cash up, and then I knew we designed and spec'd it out what it needed to do, and then the programmer and the designer follow those instructions. That was mostly David did that with my assistants and Z's assistants. And then they knew that once they had it up, now is our turn to work. We had to get artists to use it, reach out to all these different websites, say, hey, use our embed, it's better, and then do all the Google stuff to show up in Google. And then really kind of the cheat code was that when artists wanted to be on DJ Booth, Z, who was the editor at DJ Booth, would say, I'm not accepting anything unless you send us an Audiomack link. So, or
Sneaky,
he would
sneaky.
say, you should at least do this too, because this is actually going to be good for you. And it was. So it's not like we were tricking them. Like, it really was good for them. And we have artists still today that made their accounts in 2012, 2013. And that's like a flex to be, have an account that long and had that old, because it says on Audiomack had an account since this date.
Oh, really? Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
But what was it that took it to the next level? Like, did you start making those 5K, or like what was the actual journey that happened?
Well, another reason I should probably mention is where those companies, those sales companies I was working at was, so I worked at a company that I was going door to door. Then I worked at the software company with Dave. And then I worked at another company while I was building Audiomack with the guys. This company was called NextSage. It was the first mobile programmatic ad RTB, or real-time bidding company for apps. So I really learned a lot about apps at this time. NextSage later got bought by Millennial Media, who later got bought by AOL, which later got bought by Verizon. So I was one of the early employees here, and I learned a lot about how to put ads on apps, essentially, and make money and optimize this here. And then the company I worked at with Dave was an ad company as well. So we knew if we got some amount of traffic, we were going to make money based on our online ad acumen. So, my clients were like Major League Baseball, Univision, NFL, Weather Channel, like the biggest apps in the world. So I learned from them as well, like exactly how to make every possible cent you could out of mobile advertising. So our partners knew that we knew how to do that. So they just, all right, we could get traffic and then we could monetize it. They were pretty confident that we'd be able to do that. And if you want to make 25 grand a month, it's not like the biggest business in the world for 5 people, that's not really, so the amount of traffic at that time wasn't like huge. You probably need like 1 million people a month to go on it or whatever. I don't even know, but it wasn't like a huge amount of traffic. So I'll answer your question. When did things really change? We were sort of growing gradually and be making a name for ourselves up until around 2015, where, Dave is like, we need to make apps. Like everything's moving to apps. At that point, we saw web traffic starting to tank and mobile traffic starting to go crazy and really augment. So we're like, we need to have apps. This is how people are going to consume music. We saw it in the flames, right? And we hired a company to create our apps and, basically connecting to our website. Our website is still hosting the files, and then it pushes them out to the apps on Android and on Apple. So we made the apps. It was 2015. 2015 we made the apps. And then once we made the apps, we started to grow very fast, especially in Africa, in West Africa in particular, in Nigeria and Ghana. So we just started to see so many people uploading music, listening to music. Nigeria is a very big country. It's one of the biggest countries in the world, over 210 million people, 220 million people. It's also the youngest country.
Good.
per age. So it's a perfect fit for us, being that we're catering to a young audience that loves music. So Nigeria and also Ghana, which is not as big of a country, but has a great musical culture. You know, and then really in South Africa as well was starting to grow a lot too. South Africa listens to a lot of rap and R&B. And that's what we were known for at the time. So the big South African rappers were using Audiomack because they're like, this is free. I could just upload here and people could listen to it for free, and that's what you wanted. And then it can still get paid as well. So we also, around this time, started our Audiomack monetization program, where artists can get monetized directly through Audiomack and we'll pay them directly. Right. So we have hundreds of thousands of artists that get paid directly through us.
Amazing.
Or get paid through Audiomack. So once, obviously, there was an incentive to use the platform from a monetary standpoint, as well as the scale and the audience potential that we offered, and just it snowballed from there. It became a very compelling platform to pay attention to.
What was the stress level in this period? Was this, you know, when you speak about it like that, of course it's been quite a few years and it's hard to talk about all the details, but was this a dancing and roses, or was it extremely hard? Like, what was the situation with you co-founders?
There was times when there was stress, but I think, like, I would say Dave gets stressed, but the other founders don't. Like, we really don't. Like, I try not to get stressed about money. Like, money is not like a real thing, right? Like, it's kind of like it's a thing that we made up. It's not really something to be stressed about in the long term. Like, obviously, if you don't have it, it's stressful. And there was times when, you know, we weren't necessarily profitable and it was a concern. But being stressed or worried about something is not really how you're going to find a solution to those problems. I think what Dave does is that his stress turns into productivity. So he, like, almost needs to be stressed. And a lot of CEOs are like this. They're like manic, like, are just compulsive, right? Like, to a point. And I tell him this all the time. I'm not like taking a shot. Like, he like just get like manic and compulsive about something until he finds the solution. I'm not really like that. I'm a chill dude. And if I get stressed, then I lose focus. So I try not to worry about anything, because I know that ultimately being worried or stressed is not going to help me solve the problem. Some people, they need that to motivate them. I'm not like that. I'm like a workhorse in a different way, where I just keep going at something until I figure out how to do it. Right. And like that's my approach, and it works for me. And also our other founders, well, one of our founders maybe gets a little stressed, but our other founders, like our CTO, like early on we had J. Cole, who's a huge rapper in the US. He dropped a mixtape on Audiomack. Didn't tell us. Didn't say, hey, I'm dropping a mixtape on Audiomack. And that was one of the only times our site crashed. And it was not working because of the influx of traffic. This happened to be when our CTO was on vacation. He's not like a Mr. Vacation guy where he goes on vacation all the time. Like, he goes on one vacation every like 5 years. But he happened to be on vacation at this time, so I was like, what are we going to do here? Like, we got to get more servers, like, working. Like, we had a huge amount of traffic because it was an exclusive to us. If we knew about it, we could have obviously prepared for this. But that was one of the only times the site crashed. And it was for like for half an hour. But at that time, the artists wanted to crash. They wanted to crash the sites because that was like a flex. So like Lil Wayne would drop like, you know, one of his mixtapes on Dat Piff, And we would have it too. They'd put it on Audiomack too. But like DatPiff, you know, was the mixtape site. They weren't happy unless the site crashed from all the traffic.
Amazing.
So it was fine in the long run, and we learned some things. But that was like the time I would get stressed because I'm like, wow, there's like 100,000 people like trying on the site right now, and they can't get it, and their first impression of Audiomack is terrible. So,
Wow.
but I try not to get stressed. I'm a chill guy, and I want to approach problems with a level head.
So fast forward a bit, we're in 2024 now, and you have grown to quite an impressive number with what I would call, and I might be wrong, but almost like a niche value proposition compared. Like it's very intentional towards a specific audience, and I think you probably through having that you also actually cater to a lot more than just those. But it's just extremely impressive. What is going on for Audiomack now? Is that, you know, just continue on 12-year growth journey, or are you considering other things? What's the future for you guys?
We're constantly innovating. We're trying to find, you know, just like when we first started, and we're trying to find out what the needs are of our market, of our target audience, and trying to give them, you know, cool features or solutions to the problems that they face. You know, we really try to build the platform for artists, right? That's always been, as the CMO, that's really our marketing strategy from the beginning, was to provide value to the artist, and they will evangelize the service to their users or their fans, I should say. There are the best, you know, affiliates or the best, you know, influencers that you could have, because they want people to listen to their music, and we're providing that utility for them, plus more, right? So what are we doing for artists? We have a new feature. We just came out with it. It's called Sponsored Songs. And this is available through our Creator app. So our Creator app is where it is the best artist app of any music platform. I will go toe-to-toe, do any comparative analysis with any of the big companies. The Audiomack Creator app is superior, and you could do so many things. It's a must-have for any artist or any manager or even a label, right? So the Creator app allows you to access sponsored songs, and sponsored songs is just one of the many features in there, but it is new, so I'll tell you about that. It allows you to either use your balance. Like I said, you could monetize directly through us, and you could generate a balance, and you could use that balance on various things in our creator services tool, or our sponsored songs. You could obviously withdraw the money and keep it, of course, but you could use it towards your sponsored songs, or now we just added, you could use external payments. So you could use Stripe, you know, Flutterwave, which is a big African payment service solution. And then, you know, and eventually you could use your credit card to use these services, and you could target your song or album towards a specific audience on Audiomack. So say you're a hip hop artist in Texas, you could say, all right, I want to reach hip hop fans in the US, and your song is going to play in the queue after the queue has been done for that hip hop fan in Texas. So they're listening to a song, their album done is over, their queue is done, their whatever they're listening, it's going to play that song next. And what we see is that you will get organic views and you'll get engagement as an artist. People are going to favorite your song. They're going to add your song to their playlist. They're going to share your song. So you're going to get fans by doing this. And part of the reason why we started this, of course, you know, I won't be shy. We want to make money. But people kept asking us for this. Artists kept asking us for this. And it's a shame because a lot of times the artist gets bamboozled. They get led astray, right? And these scammers will reach out to them and say, hey, I could get you 10,000 plays on YouTube. I could get you 100,000 plays on Audiomack. I could get you 50,000 plays on Spotify. These are fake, right? They're not real plays. They're bots. They're coming from nefarious means, streaming farms, and it's a huge problem. If Spotify sees this, you're done. They're blackballing you and your label, or they're gonna strike your label or your distributor down. If I see this, and I could tell so easily, like it's like the art, I could tell immediately. I don't want to tell why, because I don't want to give it up, but I could tell immediately. You could just tell, right? The numbers are just off, and I could validate it as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's juicing first glance, and then I go look into it and I go, actually, no, this song's about to go viral. But that's a different story. But usually it's a juicer 95+% of the time. And then it goes, a lot of times the artist is just, they got tricked, right? I'm not mad at them. Someone's scammed them. So we want to provide a way for them to get fans and get their plays up that they could pay for, and that real people are going to listen to it. Yeah. So we started this, and this has been growing very fast. Every week is more sponsored song campaigns run than the week prior. Oh. And it's been incredible, and people keep buying it back. So I think our retention rate is like 52%.
Okay, wow.
50% of people come back, and that doesn't mean that the other 48% aren't going to use it again. Because the 50 use it again and again. So they're seeing value in this, and they're getting more fans. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the Creator app, because one of the cool things that you could do, and again, this is something that other platforms will charge you for, is you could send messages directly to your fans. Right. So if you want to do, first of all, you can't even really do this on Apple or whatever, and that's fine. It doesn't make sense for them. But, if you wanted to do it with another platform, you have to pay, or they just do one-to-one communication, like SoundCloud, which is cool too. A lot of people like that. I'm not hating on that, but it's better to send it to all your fans at once. And then you could say, hey, we had one artist, she put a snippet of her song up, private, only people that followed her or that had that link could listen. So she could also track all that, how many people actually listen to this, on the back end, which is cool. But she goes, here's a snippet of my song. Whoever leaves the best comment with what the name of the song should be, I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to shout you out on social media. So that's really cool. Imagine if you had an artist you really liked and you got that message on your phone. Oh, what is that? They sent, my favorite artist sent me a message. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Not to mention you could, say, obviously, what's your favorite lyric on my album? I have new merch. Everyone who has this code gets 15% off. We had, an artist do that. Wiz Khalifa did that recently. People are always coming up with new ways to utilize this feature, and it's amazing to see. But we had certain artists, especially our really prominent artists on the platform, like Ashake, who's a very big Nigerian artist, amazing artist. He has a ton of followers on Audiomack. He was our most streamed artist in 2022. He sent a connect message. He had 20,000 replies in a few hours.
Amazing. I think one of the things we talk a lot about on the podcast is technology, and especially sort of AI and how that's going to create a lot of disruption in creating music and engagement with fans. And what I hear over and over again from experts, and of course my own thoughts, is the human connectivity. The community-driven approach of music is going to be more and more important, because the best way to navigate through the amount of content that's coming out is the connection. It is, at the end of the day, we're listening to music sometimes just to have in the background, but most of the time we listen to music because it has a purpose. And a lot of that purpose comes from an association to a person or a community. And sort of what you're addressing right now is really, for me, really interesting, because it's future-proofing the future of music consumption, in my opinion. It is having the access to have music mean more than the actual audio, the audio wave. It is the people behind it. It's the storytellers that tell us these stories. And I think that's super timely. And of course, it might just be sort of answering to artists' needs and, addressing that you guys need to do a business. But it is one of the most important aspects of addressing the technology advancement that's happening right now, in my opinion. So I really love that part.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. It's about the community, right? Like, and I think with COVID, it took a lot of that away. Of course, many of us were isolated, and what we saw, and I know this other music platforms, we lost. People thought that our streams and our usage would go up, but it went down with COVID, and I know it did on I believe Spotify as well. They reported. Because you listen, you said you listen to music in the background. That's true. It's a secondary activity for a lot of us. We're taking the bus to school. We're cleaning our house. We're at the gym. We're cooking, whatever, right? And then there's also the best way to discover music is not on an app, right? It's with a bunch of people, like-minded folks, and you have that energy in the same room, right? Or maybe in the car, right? You're in a car with your friend, he goes, listen to this, the song's amazing, and you hear it, and you have that connection with your friend, right? Or if you're at a festival or you're at a club, and everyone is moving and swaying at the same time, right? Like, you see those videos, those are always just so mesmerizing, right? Like, you see the big festivals and the artists you see their back and they're facing the audience, and you see everyone going crazy. Like, you just cannot simulate that in any other way. AI not going to do that, right? So, now I'm not saying there's not a place for AI and that there's not, it's not going to find its way in the music industry and it's not going to help people. I think it is. But it's never going to match that. It's not going to simulate that. You have to. It's a human thing. It's a universal language that everyone can understand, regardless of the actual language you speak. So, it goes deeper than what's on the surface. You feel it in your bones. And for the real music fans and the real music heads, it's like a high, right? Because it's of that connection you're making to the composer, to the songwriter, or even that person next to you, at the concert. You have your arm around your wife or girlfriend or husband or boyfriend or whoever. You can't simulate that in any other way.
David, this has been an amazing interview, and we're sort of rounding up soon, but I have a few questions about what you guys are looking for in the future. Are you looking for just growing this to scale even more? Are you looking for an exit? What's the future for you guys?
Well, I think we want to put the power back in the hands of the artists, right? And I think we've done that to some degree, where, as an artist, you don't necessarily need to have a label. You don't need to have a major label. Right, you could put your music on Audiomack and other services too, and people around the world can hear your music. It's crazy that we have artists here in America, in the States. If you look at their stats, right, when they go onto the Creator app or on the dashboard, and they go, "Wow, I didn't realize that so many fans in Liberia," right? Like, that's crazy, and they're just like. They just can't even wrap their head around that, right? We want to forge those connections and draw the shortest line between the artist and the fan, and allow them to build that relationship and that connection. Might be digitally, but it's still great. You know that you have the fan in Liberia. If you're a Nigerian artist, you could come to New York and do a sold out show, right? We just had that this past weekend that just happened. And we want to keep fostering those connections. And, of course, from a business perspective, we want to continue to grow our users. We don't need to exit, right? Of course, anyone can make an offer we can't refuse. And I'm all ears, but we're not like actively shopping, the platform. We want to build it like we always have, which is foundationally, with a solid base, solid, revenue numbers, solid profitability, solid EBITDA, the boring business finance things, which we have a great finance team that's helping us do that. Because ultimately, we're paying this money to artists too. So we giving artists the ability to put their first song on Audiomack, grow, get their first check from Audiomack, reinvest into their career, and continue to grow. And then they can have the option of signing to a label, right? Now they have some leverage, right? They could continue to stay independent, which a lot of our artists, they realize they could do. They build their own team and essentially their own label, and they go ahead and do that, which is great. So we're providing more options. We want to continue to innovate and push. Our slogan is moving music forward, so we want to do that. One other feature I want to say super quick that encapsulates all this is called Audiomod. If you're a listener in Audiomack, you could take any song and you could speed it up, slow it down, nightcore, daycore, muffle it, or you could customize your own way, right? So that's where we see music going. If you go on any social media site, songs are sped up, they're slowed down. People want to make the song their own way. So we're providing them this tool with Audiomod so that you could speed it up, adjust it, and make it exactly the way that you want to hear it. Artists and labels and copyright holders still getting paid. In fact, they're getting paid more, what we see in our numbers. So creating features like Audiomod and staying ahead of the curve is what we plan on doing. We already know our competitors are copying us right now and building the same feature. I know. So you'll see this everywhere soon, but we're flattered by that, and we're also happy to move music forward like that, and push the industry to its boundaries so that we can make a fair and equitable system for all the artists and all the people involved.
David, it's been so refreshing hearing a startup story in the music industry that's based on so much love for music. I think sometimes the music industry, including my own career, can sort of get lost in why we started. And sometimes, I'm motivated by entrepreneurship or creating business. And once in a while, music gets forgotten, and for many different reasons, even though we work with it every single day. But it's very refreshing to hear a story that it's so central. The love for music, the love for artistry it's the core of what you do. So thank you for being generous with your time. Thank you for telling the story. And I'm looking very much forward to follow you and your company for many years to come and see what happens.
Thank you, Jacob. I really appreciate it. Fantastic questions. I had a great conversation, and it was lovely to speak with you. And I'm excited to share this with everyone in my network, and tell everyone to subscribe to this podcast and listen to it each week.
Love it. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Jacob.